Okay, let's get into it. Today, we're really going to dig into something I think everyone grapples with. The true cost of our ambitions, the price tags attached to the choices we make, especially when we're chasing a big dream.
Absolutely. And we're doing this deep dive using excerpts from a really compelling story called The Cost of Everything.
Yeah.
It's not like a dry analysis. It's a narrative following a young woman named Lena.
Right, Lena. And the story, it just throws you right in. She's 24, living in this really demanding city, the kind of place that just eats up your time and money.
Totally. And she's working multiple jobs to make ends meet. We learn she's doing shifts at a cafe in the morning, then hops on a bike or in a car to do delivery driving in the evening.
And on top of all that, she's trying to squeeze in online classes. It sounds exhausting just reading about it.
It really does. But she has this incredibly clear goal driving her. The source tells us her big dream, her focus, is saving enough money to open her own small design studio.
Ah, the creative dream. A space just for her work.
Exactly. A place to create freely. The story really paints a picture of how real this is for her. It mentions her sketches piling up in notebooks, mood boards covering her walls. These aren't just vague wishes, they're tangible plans.
You really feel that passion coming off the page. But then, bam, the story immediately slams that dream up against the hard reality.
The reality that life, well, it runs on bills.
So many bills. Rent, phone, electricity, water, Wi-Fi. The text lists them out, and you feel the weight of them just accumulating.
And her financial struggle isn't glossed over. It's shown in these small, sharp details, like her literally counting coins to see if she has enough for groceries.
Or skipping lunch, and there's that line about her shoes, right? Seeing a pair she needs and thinking.
Yeah, thinking, there's $60, that's half a week of groceries. It just puts that constant calculation, that trade-off, right in front of you.
It's brutal. And then that moment the source describes where her card gets declined buying eggs.
Ugh, yeah, just a simple pack of eggs. It's so small, but so humiliating in a way. It speaks volumes about how tight things are.
But what's interesting is how the author shows her response. It's not just sitting in despair.
No, not at all. It's immediate action. She picks up, 3 extra delivery runs?
Yeah, 3 extra runs. In the freezing rain, the story says, just to make up that small amount for the eggs.
It shows incredible grit, but also the sheer pressure she's constantly under. She's just pushing through, doing what needs to be done.
But the source tells us that underneath all that relentless hustle, this question starts to surface for her. A question that kind of hangs over the whole narrative.
Right. What will it cost me in the end?
And the sharper version of that.
Yeah.
At what price? It's not just about the money anymore.
Exactly. That question, pulled right from the text, is really the heart of the story, and it's what we want to explore in this deep dive. We're using Lena's journey, her struggles and choices, as a sort of mirror.
A mirror for you, listening, to maybe look a bit closer at the less obvious price tags in your own life.
Okay.
Things you might be paying that aren't just dollars and cents.
Okay, so where do we start unpacking that?
Well, the story quickly shows us the cost isn't just financial, right? It's in these daily battles.
Mm-hmm.
Not huge, dramatic showdowns, but the quiet, grinding ones.
Like the constant decision-making fatigue. The text describes her mornings starting not just with coffee, but with this immediate stressful choice. Which bill gets paid today?
Because there's never enough cash to cover everything at once.
Never. So it's this constant juggling act, priorities clashing, pay the rent or the electricity, keep the phone on or buy class materials. It's relentless.
And it puts her perpetually on the edge of a crisis, which leads to that specific moment the source details, the notice under her door.
Oh yeah, the rent notice, late payment. And the threat of eviction looming. in just 5 days.
5 days. I mean, can you imagine that pressure? That's terrifying. How does the story show her handling that?
Well, there's the initial wave of panic, obviously, but it forces her hand, pushes her into a really difficult choice almost immediately. Her phone rings.
An offer,
Yeah, a freelance design project. Not the dream stuff, not her passion project, but it pays. And it pays now.
which is exactly what she needs in that moment.
Exactly. But the story makes the stakes crystal clear. Taking this project means sacrificing even more. Sleep goes out the window. She'll miss crucial time for her online classes. She's already exhausted. This risks pushing her past the breaking point.
But refusing it means
Refusing it means potentially being homeless in 5 days. So really, it's not much of a choice at all.
survival mode kicks in. She takes the project.
She does, and the narrative is unflinching in showing the consequences. Her nights basically disappear. The text describes her getting physically weaker, feeling the strain in her body.
And even her dreams, the whole reason she's doing this, start to get blurry.
Yeah, not because she's losing sight of the goal, but literally blurred from fatigue. The sheer grinding exhaustion starts to pile up on top of her ambition.
And the cost ripples outwards, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Affecting her relationships.
Definitely. The source mentions she starts missing calls from her mother. She has to turn down dinners with friends because she's either working or just too drained. The isolation starts creeping in.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The story explores the impact on her passion, the very thing she's supposedly working towards.
Right. That bright flame she had for design, it starts to flicker. Because now she's using that skill purely for survival, churning out work she doesn't care about just to pay the bills.
So the means starts to undermine the end, in a way.
Precisely. She begins to seriously question if chasing this dream in this way is even sustainable. Is it a luxury she literally can't afford right now? The author puts it so starkly. Every hour spent on passion felt like an hour taken from survival.
Wow. That's a heavy realization. It's not just about time management anymore. It's like the core motivation is being eroded.
Yeah, it's a fundamental conflict. And then there's this encounter the story includes, seemingly small but really significant. She's sketching in the cafe, trying to hold on to that creative spark.
And the stranger speaks to her.
Yeah, an older woman, a stranger, sits nearby and just offers this piece of insight. It's like she sees right through Lena's struggle. She says something like,
Let me see if I have the quote here. Yes. Sometimes, the stranger says, the cost of what you want isn't just money. It's the moments you miss, the people you lose, the parts of yourself you forget.
that line, the parts of yourself you forget, that really lands.
It does. It nails that the sacrifice isn't just external time, money, social life. It's internal, too. Parts of your identity, your joy, maybe your values can get chipped away.
And the stranger finishes with, but the hardest choice is deciding what you're willing to give up and what you won't.
Which puts the agency back on Lena, but also highlights the weight of those decisions. It really makes you, the reader, and Lena, confront what's really being paid here, beyond the obvious.
So for anyone listening who resonates with that feeling, that relentless pressure, it's worth asking, right? What difficult choices are you facing in pursuing your goals?
And what are you sacrificing? Not just the cash, but the moments, the energy, the connections. Those parts of yourself the stranger mentioned.
It's a heavy question, but a crucial one. And this growing awareness in Lena, this sense of a cost deeper than just finances, sets the stage for what feels like the emotional core of the story.
Right, because the physical and financial strain is immense. We see that clearly. But the narrative digs deeper, revealing this ache that's more than just loneliness. It's a kind of detachment.
An emotional cost. And this cost becomes impossible for Lena to ignore when she gets a specific phone call. news about her grandmother.
Ah, yes, the grandmother is severely ill.
This is such a pivotal moment in the source material because it connects Lena's sacrifices directly to someone absolutely irreplaceable in her life.
This isn't just any relative. The story establishes her grandmother was the one who raised her.
Right. Raised her, taught her to draw in the first place, was her biggest cheerleader for the design dream, the foundation of her support system, really.
And the painful realization is Lena hasn't been home.
Not in months. She's been completely consumed by the cycle described earlier: work, bills, classes. The very things she thought were building her future were keeping her from her past and her present connection.
The story's description of her visit to the hospital, it's incredibly powerful. You almost feel like you're there.
Yeah, the sterile smell, seeing her grandmother looking so fragile. Lena just sits there, holding her hand, listening to these stories from her grandmother's youth. Maybe stories she'd heard before, but they land differently now.
And the author drives home the point.
Hmm.
These moments, right here, right now, they cannot be bought back. No amount of future success or money could ever purchase this specific time.
That's the aha moment, the gut punch the narrative delivers. It lays out the truth so starkly. No amount of money can replace the warmth of that embrace, the shared history in those stories.
No potential design award or successful studio launch could ever make up for missing a final goodbye, if it came to that.
Absolutely, and you feel the shift in Lena immediately. The story shows her perspective just cracking open. The cost of her ambition, which she'd been measuring in dollars and sleepless nights, suddenly feels astronomically unacceptably high.
She has to face this terrifying thought. What if the success she's killing herself for, achieved by sacrificing these connections, leaves her with nothing but a hollow victory, an empty space where love and family should be?
It's a devastating realization, and it forces a question outward towards us, the readers, the listeners.
Looking at your own life, your own pursuits, what are the truly priceless things? Your key relationships, your health, those simple moments of joy or peace.
Are you maybe inadvertently putting them on the chopping block in the name of ambition or getting ahead? What's the real non-financial toll of the choices you're making every day?
It's a sobering thought. But thankfully, Lena's story doesn't just leave her in that moment of crisis. The narrative follows her as she starts to process this, to find a new way forward.
Yeah, it's not about abandoning her dreams entirely. The source is clear on that. The design studio ambition doesn't just vanish, but it begins to shift, to recalibrate.
Yes.
She makes a conscious vow internally to find a different kind of balance, to start valuing her relationships, her own well-being, just as highly as she values her bank account or her productivity levels.
And the story shows us the first small steps she takes on this new path. They seem simple, but significant.
Very significant. Like, she actually puts aside the formal business plan for her studio for a little while, and instead she starts filling her sketchbook with drawings of the faces of people she loves, reconnecting with her art's original inspiration.
That's lovely. And she reaches out to her friend Maya, the one she'd been avoiding.
Yes. She finally replies to Maya's text saying, "I'd love that. It's been too long." A simple act, but it represents opening a door she'd kept closed.
The narrative calls these changes subtle but profound, which feels right. It's not one big dramatic gesture, but a series of small shifts in her daily life.
Exactly. Like saying yes to invitations she would have automatically declined before, thinking she didn't have time. Carving out protected time to actually call her family, not just text.
Even cooking proper meals for herself, instead of just grabbing whatever's fastest and cheapest.
Yeah, acts of self-care that signal she's starting to value herself differently. The source also mentions her laughing more easily, and this is huge. Allowing herself to rest without feeling overcome by guilt.
Oh, the guilt of resting when you feel you should be productive? That's a powerful one for many people.
Definitely. And her reconnecting with Maya leads to another important moment of insight in the story. They finally meet up.
And Maya says something wise.
Gently, yeah. She says something like, it's okay to slow down sometimes. We think we have to carry the whole world alone, but life is about sharing the load. Just giving Lena permission almost to not be superhuman.
That's great advice. And Lena also gets guidance from a mentor figure mentioned in the story, doesn't she?
She does. Someone who reinforces this idea of conscious choice. The mentor tells her, basically, every choice has a cost that's unavoidable. But, the mentor adds, it's the weight you carry with intention and self-awareness that shapes who you become.
Intentions and self-awareness, that feels key. Knowing why you're making the trade-off.
Right. And the mentor also says, you don't have to carry everything alone. Sometimes asking for help is the strongest choice of all. Challenging that idea that independence means doing absolutely everything yourself.
So Lena starts building this new framework for herself. But the story keeps it realistic, right? It's not suddenly easy street.
Not at all. The author is careful to note that this shift towards balance isn't like a magic fix. There are still doubts, still hard days where the old pressures resurface. Financial worries don't just disappear overnight.
But she's learning something new about balance itself.
Yeah, she learns that balance isn't a static point you reach and then just stay there. It's more like a fluid dance, constantly adjusting, sometimes leaning into ambition, sometimes prioritizing rest, making space for connection, but also honoring her need for solitude.
It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. And her journal entry, which the source quotes directly, really encapsulates this whole transformation beautifully.
Did you share that?
Sure. She writes, money can buy many things, but it cannot buy time, love, or moments that matter. The cost of everything is not only in dollars spent, but in the life lived or lost along the way.
Wow.
She goes on, I've been paying with my health, my joy, my relationships. Now I choose to pay with my heart, to cherish what cannot be bought.
Choose to pay with my heart. That's powerful. It reframes cost entirely. It's about investing in what truly nourishes her.
Precisely. And interestingly, there's a later section in the story, chapter 6 apparently, that introduces this idea of the price of freedom.
What does that mean in this context?
Well, even with her new perspective, difficult choices don't vanish. For instance, she has to decide whether attending a gallery, opening something that could nourish her creatively and maybe offer networking, is worth sacrificing hours she could have spent on paid work.
Ah, so freedom isn't free either. It still involves trade-offs.
Exactly. Freedom, the story suggests, isn't the absence of cost, but the ability to choose your costs more consciously. It's earned through these careful, sometimes still painful decisions. But crucially, her definition of a worthwhile cost has expanded. Now, choosing moments that feed her soul, like that gallery opening perhaps, can be seen as a valid, even necessary expense.
So it's not just about earning money, but earning or choosing experiences that enrich her life in other ways.
That's it, exactly. It leads Lena, according to the narrative, to this really profound redefinition of what success actually looks like for her.
It's no longer just about the size of her future studio or her bank account balance.
Or the number of hours she clocks in. No. The true measure, she realizes, is the richness of her actual days, the quality of her lived experience, the depth of her connections with people, and, importantly, the sense of peace she's starting to find within herself.
That's a huge shift from where she started, counting coins for eggs.
A massive shift. Lena's journey in the cost of everything, as shown in these excerpts, really charts that transformation. From a relentless, almost tunnel vision pursuit defined purely in financial and productivity terms.
To finding a path where the measure is much broader, encompassing moments, relationships, well-being, a more holistic view of a successful life.
It really brings us back full circle to that core idea the story presents. The cost of everything isn't just tallied in currency.
It's counted in the moments we live or miss,
Yeah.
in the relationships we nurture or neglect, in our own physical and emotional health. And some of those things, well, they're just priceless.
You can't earn them back once they're gone.
Yeah.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a lingering question, inspired by Lena's journey but applied to our own lives.
As you navigate your own dreams, your ambitions, all the demands life throws at you, what are you consciously choosing to hold close? What are you actively deciding to protect, even when the cost in terms of time or money or maybe even conventional achievement seems high?
What does your personal definition of a truly rich, truly fulfilling life actually look like when you strip away the external pressures and expectations?
Something to really sit with. What are you paying, and is it worth the price?